Welcome back to Educator.com's English Grammar course. This lesson is on conjunctions. Let's get started. Alright, to begin with, we're going to ask, what are conjunctions? We're going to find out what they are and what they do. We're going to look at 4 kinds of conjunctions: coordinating conjunctions, correlative conjunctions, subordinating conjunctions, and conjunctive adverbs. And finally, we're going to look at how to use conjunctions correctly. Alright, what is a conjunction? Conjunctions join 2 or more parts of sentences, words, phrases, or clauses, and they express the relationship between those 2 parts. Conjunctions are all about sticking things together. There are 4 kinds of conjunctions: coordinating, correlative, subordinating, and conjunctive adverbs. Okay, coordinating conjunctions. These are the kind that you'll run into most commonly and that most people think of when you say conjunctions. They connect grammatically equivalent elements, words, phrases, or clauses. Basically, think of coordinating conjunctions as a connection between equal things. Remember, a coordinated outfit has clothes that match up, like the skirt and the boots in this photograph. A coordinated person can match up his or her movements to each other, like these dancers. And the right coordinates on a map match up to the location you're looking for. So, if you're trying to remember coordinating conjunctions, just remember matching. These are the coordinating conjunctions in English: and, or, nor, for, but, so, and yet. If you see one of these, it could very well be used as a coordinating conjunction. Let's look at some examples. See if you can find the coordinating conjunctions in these sentences. I am sick and tired of rain. You may have a hamburger or a hot dog for lunch. The dress was pretty, but it was the wrong color. I was ready to leave, yet I hesitated. I don't like pizza, nor do I like tacos. I love spring, for it's the most pleasant time of year. Take a good look. Pause the video if you need to. All right. I am sick and tired of rain. In this case, you're connecting sick and tired. 2 adjectives, grammatically equivalent, equally important, so they get a coordinating conjunction. You may have a hamburger or a hot dog for lunch. Hamburger and hot dog, both foods, equally important in this sentence, grammatically equivalent, so they get the coordinating conjunction or. The dress was pretty, but it was the wrong color. In this case, we're connecting clauses. The dress was pretty. It was the wrong color. They're 2 equally important ideas in the sentence, so they get the coordinating conjunction but. I was ready to leave, yet I hesitated. Connecting 2 grammatically equivalent clauses. I was ready to leave. I hesitated. It also shows the relationship. There's a contrast. You use yet and but to show contrast. You use or to indicate alternatives. And you use and for combinations. I don't like pizza, nor do I like tacos. Once again, grammatically equivalent. Connected by nor. And finally, I love spring, for it's the most pleasant time of year. In this case, you're talking about cause and effect, which is what for is most commonly used for. All right, correlative conjunctions. Correlative conjunctions always come in pairs. They also connect grammatically equivalent elements. To remember correlative conjunctions, remember relatives always come in groups, like these twins, just as correlative conjunctions always come in pairs. Let's take a look at some examples. All right, here's what I mean by pairs. Both and, not only but also, not but, either or, neither nor, whether or, and as. You will always find both of these conjunctions used in the same sentence if they're acting as a correlative conjunction. Let's look at some examples of correlative conjunctions. See if you can find some in these sentences. He not only speaks 5 languages, but also reads 3 more. Whether you like it or not, I'm coming with you. Either the rain will stop or we'll cancel the soccer match. The dog was both loyal and intelligent, and it was not your fault but mine. Take a good look, pause if you need to. And there they are. He not only speaks 5 languages, but also reads 3 more. Joining the grammatically equivalent phrases, speaks 5 languages, and reads 3 more. Note that there are also parallel constructions. Verb and object. Verb and object. All right. Whether you like it or not, I'm coming with you. Again, equivalent. You've got a choice. You like it or not. Either the rain will stop or we'll cancel the soccer match. The dog was both loyal and intelligent, and it was not your fault, but mine. Again, joining your fault and mine, grammatically equivalent since mine here is standing in for my fault. All right, subordinating conjunctions. Subordinating conjunctions are adverbs that introduce subordinate clauses. They're different from regular adverbs because they connect subordinate and independent clauses and show the relationship between them. Remember, a subordinate ranks below a supervisor or commander, just as this fellow saluting does. Just as a subordinating conjunction adds a lower-ranking clause to a main sentence. Here are some examples of subordinating conjunctions. After, although, as if, because, before, even if, even though, how, if only, now that, once, rather than, since, so that, than, that, though, unless, until, when, whenever, where, wherever, whether, and while. Let's look at some examples. Because the dog barked all night, I got very little sleep. The police arrived after the bank robbery was over. After dinner, I went home, where I tried to finish my homework. I will go with you wherever you go. I'll bring Chips to the party unless you want to do that. And since you left, she's been very sad. Take a good look. See if you can find the subordinating conjunctions. And there they are. Because the dog barked all night, I got very little sleep. Remember, a clause is different from a phrase in that it contains both a subject and a verb. If you took the subordinating conjunction off and took this clause out of the sentence, you could turn it into its own independent sentence. You could have a sentence that just says, the dog barked all night. It has a subject, it has a predicate, it's perfectly grammatical. But we stuck that subordinating conjunction on the beginning, so it no longer makes sense as a standalone sentence. It becomes a subordinate clause dependent on the independent clause, I got very little sleep. The main idea in the sentence is, I got very little sleep. Because the dog barked all night just adds a little extra information in the background. So, it's a subordinate clause, it's a subordinating conjunction. Similarly, the police arrived after the bank robbery was over. Again, subordinate clause, depending on the main clause, the police arrived. After dinner, I went home, where I tried to finish my homework. Notice that even though we listed after as a subordinating conjunction in the list, it's not marked here. That's because this is a prepositional phrase, after dinner. All you've got is a preposition and the object, the noun dinner. It's not a clause because it doesn't have a verb, so it cannot be a subordinate clause. I will go with you wherever you go. Once again, you've got that subject and verb, you and go, and the subordinating conjunction, wherever. I'll bring Chips to the party unless you want to do that. Once again, you want to do that could be a sentence by itself. It's got the subordinating conjunction unless stuck on the front, so it's a subordinate clause depending on the independent clause. I'll bring Chips to the party, the main idea. And since you left, she's been very sad. Again, the independent clause, she's been very sad, and the dependent clause, since you left, that depends on it. Okay, conjunctive adverbs. Conjunctive adverbs introduce independent clauses. They're like subordinating conjunctions, conjunctive adverbs are, except that they connect two clauses that could otherwise be fully independent sentences. None of this, because we added a subordinating conjunction, it's not an independent sentence anymore. These are still potentially independent parts. The way you remember conjunctive adverbs is that a road junction connects two independent roads. Each of these roads starts and goes somewhere all by itself. They just happen to cross at the junction, just as conjunctive adverbs connect independent clauses. Let's look at some examples. All right, here are the most commonly used conjunctive adverbs in English. As a result, consequently, finally, furthermore, however, moreover, nevertheless, similarly, therefore, and thus. Notice anything interesting? Any of these words could actually be the beginning of a sentence all by itself, and you've probably been taught to use most of them as transition words in your writing to connect your ideas. We're going to see how they work inside a sentence as conjunctive adverbs. See if you can find them here. It's raining, therefore, the game is canceled. I mixed the ingredients over and over. Finally, I baked an edible cake. You say you're sorry, nevertheless, you're still getting grounded. The library is full of interesting books. However, it is also closing in 5 minutes. There's a problem I've had before. See if you can find the conjunctive adverbs. And there they are. It's raining. Therefore, the game is canceled. I mixed the ingredients over and over. Finally, I baked an edible cake. You say you're sorry. Nevertheless, you're still getting grounded. The library is full of interesting books. However, it is also closing in 5 minutes. Notice anything else interesting about these sentences? They have something in common. Look at the punctuation. It's raining. Semicolon. Therefore, the game is canceled. I mixed the ingredients over and over. Semicolon. Finally, I baked an edible cake. You say you're sorry. Semicolon. The library is full of interesting books. Semicolon. You will very, very often see semicolons used just before conjunctive adverbs because semicolons are used to join independent clauses. That's what they're for. So, if you've got a semicolon in there, look for a conjunctive adverb. I mixed the ingredients over and over. Finally, I baked an edible cake. Either one of these pieces could be an independent sentence all by itself, conjunction and all, or in this case, conjunctive adverb and all. That semicolon is all that sticks them together. You say you're sorry. You're still getting grounded. The library is full of interesting books. It is also closing in 5 minutes. So when you see conjunctive adverbs, they go with semicolons. And when you see a semicolon, you might just be running into a conjunctive adverb. Now, here's how to tell conjunctive adverbs from subordinating conjunctions. Let's look at these two versions of a sentence we just saw. It's raining, therefore the game is canceled. And because it's raining, the game is canceled. Now, we know from the previous slides that this sentence uses a conjunctive adverb, therefore. And there's our old friend the semicolon. But because it's raining, that is a dependent clause. With because it's raining in there, you couldn't make it an independent sentence. The game is canceled is still an independent sentence, but because it's raining is not. So if you're ever trying to figure out whether you've got a conjunctive adverb or a subordinating conjunction, see if you can figure out whether the clauses in the sentence are both independent or not. If you have a dependent clause, you have to have a subordinating conjunction. All right, see if you can find and identify the conjunctions in this passage. It was raining hard, so I quickly became soaked. I was ready and anxious to get inside, but my key wouldn't fit into the lock. After a long struggle, I forced the key in. The door opened with a click. As I stepped inside, I realized that either I had left a window open or something was wrong. The room was too cold. I looked up. Finally, I noticed there was a hole in the roof. Take a good look, pause if you need to find the conjunctions. And there they are. It was raining hard, so I quickly became soaked. Joins two grammatically equivalent elements, so it's a coordinating conjunction. Remember, matching. I was ready and anxious. Once again, we're matching ready and anxious, so it's coordinating. But my key wouldn't fit into the lock. Now we're joining I was ready and anxious to get inside, and my key wouldn't fit into the lock. So it's a different coordinating conjunction, but still a coordinating conjunction. After a long struggle, I forced the key in. Notice this is a prepositional phrase. It's not marked as a conjunction because it doesn't have a verb. The door opened with a click. As I stepped inside, I realized that either I had left a window open or something was wrong. Those come in pairs, so we are dealing with correlative conjunctions. Remember, relatives, the twins? The room was too cold. I looked up. Oh, there's our friend the semicolon. So this must be a conjunctive adverb. Finally, I noticed there was a hole in the roof. Okay, here's how to use conjunctions correctly. Use coordinating conjunctions to join two equal grammatical elements. Remember the coordinated outfit, matching. Use correlative conjunctions in pairs, either or, neither nor, etc. Remember that relatives come in groups. Use subordinating conjunctions to introduce a dependent clause. Remember that a subordinate depends on his or her superiors. And finally, use conjunctive adverbs to connect independent clauses. Remember the junction of two equal roads. See if you can figure out which conjunction goes in each of these sentences. I plan to eat bacon, blank, eggs for breakfast. You're a terrible liar, blank. I always know when you're not telling the truth. We'll go outside, blank, it stops snowing. Blank, the guitarist, blank, the drummer seemed to know how to play the band's new song. Blank, the movie was terrible. She enjoyed it, blank, it was funny to watch. All right, I plan to eat bacon and eggs for breakfast. You knew that you were going to need a coordinating conjunction there because you're joining bacon and eggs, grammatically equivalent, so you need a coordinating conjunction. You're a terrible liar. Therefore, I always know when you're not telling the truth. Well, that semicolon should have been your clue. You have two independent clauses right there. You're a terrible liar. I always know when you're not telling the truth. We'll go outside when it stops snowing. Well, there we have a subordinate clause, so we must have a subordinating conjunction. Neither the guitarist nor the drummer seemed to know how to play the band's new song. Well, here you have conjunctions that come in pairs, so they must be correlative. Although the movie was terrible, she enjoyed it because it was funny to watch. Although the movie was terrible and because it was funny to watch, neither of them can stand alone as an independent sentence, so they must be subordinate clauses, so these are both subordinating conjunctions. All right, see if you can find the conjunctions here. You can fool some of the people all of the time and all of the people some of the time. However, you can't fool all of the people all of the time. Abraham Lincoln. If music be the food of love, play on. William Shakespeare. Can you find the conjunctions? There they are. You can fool some of the people all of the time and all of the people some of the time. Some of the people all of the time and all of the people some of the time. They're grammatically equivalent, they're even parallel, so you know you have a coordinating conjunction. However, you can't fool all of the people all of the time. Oh, there's our old friend the semicolon, which means that this must be a conjunctive adverb, backed up by the fact that however you can't fool all of the people all of the time could be a sentence all by itself. It's an independent clause. And if music be the food of love, play on. If music be the food of love, or as we'd say in modern English, if music is the food of love, this is a subordinate clause. It depends on play on. So this is a subordinating conjunction. And finally, you've probably seen this one on the wall of a post office somewhere. Neither snow nor rain nor heat nor gloom of night stays these messengers from their appointed rounds. Herodotus. And the Spartans do not inquire how many the enemy are, but where they are. Aegis. Can you find the conjunctions? There they are. Neither snow, nor rain, nor heat, nor gloom of night. Well, we've got a bunch of conjunctions that come in a group, so we must be dealing with correlative. And indeed, we are. Grammatically equivalent elements joined by a group conjunction. The Spartans do not inquire how many the enemy are, but where they are. Well, not but is another of our pairs, so we know we have another correlative conjunction. That's all for this lesson. Thank you for watching Educator.com.